Hello everyone, I'm Black Marvin. I'm a progressive psychedelic trance artist. I'm a professional sound designer and also a teacher for electronic music production. Today, it's an exciting day because there's a new synth available and it's Ember by Yum Audio. So full disclosure here, I was lucky to have access to the beta for Ember. I have spent already quite some time in the synth. I made some presets that are available in the default presets. If you want to hear the presets, they're later in the video. It is time stamped. And also, the guys at Yum Audio, they want to give you a license of Ember. There's going to be a giveaway. And if you want the details for the giveaway, it's also at the end. It is timestamp. But first, you really need to hear and see what this synth can do. So before we dive in, if you like that kind of content, sound design, that kind of stuff, you just want more of that stuff, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, Ember, it's like a vintage vibe blended on a modern frame. And I really like those kind of synths. You've seen me cover some other synths of that type on the channel. And even in my music, if you've listened to a bit of Black Marvin, there's some modern crunchy stuff, but I always like to pull out the retro vibes from time to time. And this is going to be really useful for that. So yeah, let's dive into Ember. I'm really eager to show you what it can do. All right, we are inside Ember. Let's start with a tour of the interface. I think it's a green flag, to be able to understand easily an interface. But of course, you need to know a bit synthesis. You need to know what the modulation is, arpeggiator, oscillator, envelope, but everything is there and stuff is easy to understand. So this is how the default preset sounds. Which is very warm. And I would say that's like if I had to describe Ember, that's a burning saw. It's a burning saw wave, very warm. And that's really nice. So now the oscillators, you have these 3 waveforms plus a sub oscillator. So you have that square. Just gonna remove some of the effects here. And I'm also going to put the wear and stability to 0 for now. So that's your square wave. You have a pulse width option. We have our saw wave. And we have our triangle here. So we can blend them to taste. And there's also the sub oscillator, which I think is pretty neat. And there's the FM. If you modify the FM here, it's going to affect these 3 up top. And if you want the FM to be active on the sub oscillator, you're going to check that FM here. So workflow wise, I did a couple of presets and I spotted a couple of patterns that can be used when creating some sounds. So you're going to get your selected blend of waveform. You're going to shape your sound, some stuff you like. But the FM here, what is really cool is that, sometimes on some synths, you have the option to go from no FM to almost just like crazy noise, overly processed, which is okay. But here I feel like that everything that's been selected FM-wise is all workable. And you have these different index here that goes up to 8. Basically, it's going to get more intense with higher numbers. So for example... So it gets pinchier and pinchier, but still like I'm all the way to the top. I have the 8 in index and the FM is all the way up, and it's still workable. So it's something I like. So you can almost use that FM and index like a second finesse way of working on the timbre. If we move on here, you have the filter, which is a low pass filter. I like the algorithm behind it. It sounds like warm. That's, I think that's why they called it Ember, because, it has that warmth. I think I'm gonna go for the rest of this. I feel like just working more with the saw wave. So you have your usual key track, you have the resonance here. And you can select which envelope is going to be assigned to the filter. So either one or two. And you can select the amount of modulation that you want to apply. Now, moving on to the circuit section, you have the circuit and effects. So basically, the wear and stability are ways to interact with the sound to make it more like analog, warm, lo-fi, all that stuff, just to make it sort of like fashionably damage the sound. And the way that all of these works is a X and Y axis. So, you can see that right now I'm making it age more in terms of percentage and here with the rust. And obviously you can just adjust the taste. So age is, it adds a bit more instability, while the rust just add a bit more grift and dirt. But if you're looking to just add something subtle, I would say go with rust. But if you want to go more like bananas and have that really intense lo-fi feeling, age is great as well for that. So instability is going to be more about just sort of like regularity of a couple parameters. So you can hear, like, whenever I cycle through the notes, when I was with more instability, it was, less the same. So that's nice. And with the detune, you're really going to get something like that feels like unstable pitch wise and very, very lo-fi and very, very vintage. So once again, you can blend the taste. Yeah, I'll just dial it back to no FM, just like pure saw. So that was the circuit. Now you have the effects. There's this crackle here, which is nice. You have vinyl, embers, wax, phono. So you can add these. I would say it makes a lot of sense on pads. Not really something you might want to bring into like more plucky sound if you're looking for something more stable, but why not? But it sounds just great on pads if you're looking for that vintage sound once again. I'm a big fan of the chorus. Like it's crazy because chorus is something quite simple, but for some reason there's some chorus algorithms that just sound really so, and but this one sounds juicy. Like, it sounds fat. It they nailed the vintage touch of it. There's the ripple, which is basically going to be some sort of quick, almost like tremolo. So like a volume oscillation, volume irregularity, and it's pictured as a wave, and that's kind of how it feels sometimes. It's something really cool on pads. On leads, if you're looking for something consistent, I would just say like blend up the taste. So you have a compressor. This one it really feels like it's slapping the sound. Almost like I wouldn't say OTT because you don't have the feeling of like high frequency being snapped that an OTT type compressor does, but it really, there's the snap parameters, and sometimes you can really enhance the first snap of it. So you can hear like the almost like it's affecting the transient a lot. Once again, usually I blend these to taste. Or if what's really cool about these effects and these function, including the circuit, is that you can, if you want, just really go all in. I've seen some presets that really make good use of these parameters. Sometimes they push it to the extreme. Now there's the heat, which is really like a saturation to me. Really, that's how it feels. And it can be, it's very warm type saturation. There's an echo here. And obviously you have these time divisions. This is something quite, you have the XY parameter, feedback, mix. It's if you want to have your sound bounce, it's obviously, I think at this stage you're familiar with an echo is, and space is a reverb. Be careful. Sometimes the echo kind of brings a bit of dirt on the last slaps. So I'm gonna get rid of it for now. And yeah, space is basically it's a nice reverb. Very easy to use. I've been pretty much using the wide and the void in the presets I've made. So if we take a look at the master section, you have polyphony or monophony. You have the width and the tone. So basically, those, you can see these as well. The time and the intensity, almost like as macros, last macros for this function. So everything that is width related, you can kind of access it and enhance it or just make it wider. So you can hear that all the effects and parameters that work with the width, they get wider and narrower. And same thing with the tone. It's like almost like a spectrum tilt on the master. So you get quick access to that last adjustment, and same pattern, but with everything that has time and intensity. So intensity is everything that is like saturation wise, almost like what's aggressive on the sound. So you can quickly access to that. You can see these almost like as big macros for these parameters. Pretty straightforward. You can also assign some modulation here. So you have all these parameters that can receive some modulation. There's age, detune, FM, there's pulse width, there's rust, and obviously pitch. Sometimes it's just nice to have access to the pitch if you want to do some snappy plugs and just some funky stuff. You have a second place to connect the modulation here, as well as your modulation percentage here. Now we have the drift, which is basically, you can see it as, whenever you hear drift on old analog synth, stuff would tend to drift because of the age, because of the fact that it's analog, it's not digital. So you have the opportunity to make stuff drift. It's pretty straightforward modulation. You select the parameter that you want to drift, and then that's it. So, and you have a good visual on the modulation here. If you want, you can have it really slow. You can have it faster and a bit more reckless per se, but you see it's more intense. And you have finally this one, which is some sort of very fast and random. Well, they're all random, but this one is quite fast. What's nice usually is to get like the age. I like to get age and the rust and intensity, and just get a little bit of movement. Feels real. There's also an arpeggiator here. Once again, pretty straightforward with enough patterns here. It really feels like stuff you would have on an analog synth. It doesn't get overcomplicated. You have your rate, octaves, can go up to pretty much like 5 octave. You have some different patterns here. There's a couple ones. There's up, down, scramble. There's a random one. It's gonna show more if we put like 5 octaves. You have a up and down one. Goes up and then goes down. Down, up, which it does what you would expect. There's play order and there's chord. And finally, you have a chance percentage if you want to have something that is less stable and is not going to punch all the notes. Finally, you have the volume knob, and the sensitivity is with the pressure on the notes. So if you want something, if you're the kind of person that like to go more like live performance and you're more of a pianist, which I am not, honestly, I'm more of I program the sounds, but it's available for you if you like to be have that sensitivity. Now I'm going to show you a couple presets I did. There's regularity, but there's also instability in it, which I think is really cool. But it's not over the top, but just enough. That was Purple Lace. There's a Retro Plum. This one to me feels like it has the retro vibe. There's some plucks that is marble. I left this one pretty dry because that's what I wanted. There's Slappy McSlap. And this one's called Slappy McSlap because it has there's quite an heavy snap on the compressor. So I think it enhances that feel. Really cool stuff for trance and synthwave, and even sometimes in psytrance I like to bring, actually if you follow my music, I like to bring some of the retro synth vibes, so I'm gonna use this for sure. There's Topaz. This one has a tad aggressive and punchy. That's nice. And I made 2 trance leads that feels just like, that brings me back to my first raves because trance is the first style I really connected to. All right, so for this one, I felt like I brought a MIDI of a new track. That's the melody of a new track I did. So I think it's just gonna, for a trance lead, it's gonna just be better to preview it. So that's something really nice that you can see that there's Purple Lace for some reason that came back, and it's an arpeggiator, so you can play with your MIDI, and then you have your arpeggiator, and it gets a bit funkier. Let's see the last trance lead that I have. I have this one called Main Stager. So there's a nice fizzle to it. Like very classic stuff, like very good retro stuff. Yeah, brings back memories. It has a nice fizzle sound to it, this lead. So how I would use Ember in my tracks is sometimes, I really like the oscillators, but the saw wave just it's my favorite. I really like, it's like a burnt saw. Lots of texture. I think the everything that's vintage touch is spot on. So I sometimes do like swirling leads. So I would use this as a source, and I would start processing and get it really, really crazy. But just because if you follow my work, I've sampled and created so many saw wavetables. So just like saw derived wavetable. And yeah, I can spot some textures I like in every one of them. So I would tend to use that as a base layer. And if you're looking for some synthwave, retrowave, trance, I think it's going to be a really good synth in your arsenal. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Now, if you want to have the chance to win a license for Ember, there's one license available as a giveaway. You have to go on the Fractal Sounds Discord server. That's where the giveaway is going to be. There's going to be a subsection named Ember giveaway. And while you're there, you just write something. I like to be like, that would be fun to win an Ember license. But honestly, what would be really funny is that if you can make some joke about fire and synthesis, I'm gonna really enjoy it. But it's not gonna give you more chance to win. This is gonna be a random draft. I'm gonna film the draft and everything. But I'm gonna take all the names that are present in the subsection and that have commented. If the link for the Discord is in the description, everything is there. And if you're lost, just comment, I'm lost, and I'm gonna go here to help. The draft is going to be on November 21 at 10:30 Eastern time. So that's when the draft is going to be. So I'm guessing that it's going to be announced pretty soon, just right after that time. All right. So gonna see you soon. There's more synthesis video on this channel. Have some fun. I'm gonna see you soon in another video. Happy producing. Have fun with Ember.